we're going to talk about imposter syndrome and the voice. So I'm just going to jump straight into this. Yesterday, I posted a video about my lineage of voice. There were 10 different people who influenced how I teach voice. And today I was sort of confronted by probably like a familiar feeling of imposter syndrome. And so let's have a look at what is imposter syndrome, how imposter syndrome changes how we show up, how we use our voice, how we speak, how we communicate in the world. The power of being bad before you can be good, as indeed the path to being good, and then also what can we do about it? How can we sort of confront imposter syndrome and get rid of it, if indeed that is what we should do? We shall find out. So first, like, what is imposter syndrome and how does it affect the voice? You've probably heard of imposter syndrome, maybe not. If you haven't, don't feel like an imposter. But like, it's this idea that we are like not worthy. So I'm a voice coach. I sort of, as I say, I posted this video about my different influences, and part of me felt, well, then who am I? I can't speak. I'm mentioning people in this video who some of whom I've never met, and who have like years and years of experience. Who the hell am I to talk about voice, despite having like 9 years of teaching experience and a whole lifetime of knowledge of voice teaching through my family and my mum being a voice coach when I was growing up. But yet it's like, this is not my stuff. This is other stuff in the world, So this is this idea of imposter syndrome. It's basically not feeling worthy enough to show up. And let's have a look. Like, the thing is, there's two sides. There are two different parts of me. One of them, yesterday watching that video, was saying, oh, look at me. Oh, look at me. I know a lot. I'm talking very easily about all of these different people. I've clearly researched each of them a lot throughout the years, and that's true. I went deep dive on each one of the 10 people that I knew, and have incorporated, I know their work very well. But I was like, oh no, I can't do it. There's this other part that's just like, yes, but I'm nobody in this space. So there's this kind of constant tussle, and this can kind of show up. How does it show up with the voice? I'm looking at my notes down here. It says how it changes how we show up because it makes us choose options that mean we can hide and can be safe. So often in the world of particularly in the world of presentations and communication, there's these frameworks and there's these styles of communication which allow us to go, oh, I'm using this style, and therefore I am safe because I show up well. One example is Toastmasters. So I was a member of Toastmasters for some years. I came in as a new voice coach coming into Toastmasters, and at the time sort of resisted the way that they taught it. And I realise now it's because the way that they teach communication and public speaking is it sort of encourages people to be less authentic, because you're learning a format. So I can watch a Toastmaster speaker and I can go immediately in the first 30 seconds, I can be like, this person is probably a Toastmaster speaker because they're following this prescribed method. And so if I watch back me 7 years ago on this YouTube channel that I've got, I can watch myself and I'm like, I'm not a bad communicator, but I'm hiding behind this sort of the right way to do it. Now I'm way more messy. I'm all over the place, but that's closer to who I am, really, and that's something I'll talk about in a second. By using these things, I was hiding, in order to try and help this imposter syndrome. Now I've got more ums and ers. In Toastmasters, for example, there's this buzzer, a very Pavlovian thing. When you say or or whatever, you stop and they buzz you as if you're being punished for it. And that can make, that can be useful for bringing something up into the brain that you don't notice before, but it's also it's difficult because it means that you train people to just be like, oh no, I did something wrong, I did something wrong, which is exactly why masking turns up in the world of people who mask. As a neurodivergent person, for example, you'll get some bad feedback from someone, strange expression, or they'll go, why did you say that? Or that was a bit weird. And it's this sort of Pavlovian thing of going, okay, I should never do that again. And this is how it sort of changes us, is that we start to kind of look for those things that we're not allowed to do. And then we become less and less like ourselves, really. which means we're more likely to feel like an imposter, because it's like, who are we showing up in the world? Let's then talk about the power of being messy. So as I say, I'm more messy now than I was. And I saw a video by a very prominent voice, public speaking teacher, let's say. They talk about the voice. And I got this advert up, because I'm a teacher. I get adverts up in Facebook sometimes of people who teach similar things. And they were saying, oh, look, I looked back at this video, just as I just said, I looked back at this video of myself from years ago, and I'm like, look how scrappy I am, basically. This is what you must do in order to be able to be clear and confident. And that's exactly the sort of framework that I'm talking about, like right now, this series of videos I'm doing, I'm intentionally coming into them as scrappily as possible to remind my brain what it feels like to just be me talking around stuff I'm passionate about. And it's obviously all over the place, but this is the power of being messy. I'm not doing this so that I can get like the most views on YouTube or whatever. I'm doing this to remind myself who I am and why I talk like this, so that then as the videos go along, I relearn that is a safe thing to do. And then we can start to sort of slowly introduce all of those skills that I know from the years of doing public speaking and things, that I know I'm capable of them, but they can hold me back. So I'm sort of relearning those techniques. And I think that what often these like people who have gone through that process, like this particular public speaking coach that I was watching the other day, they sometimes forget that part of the reason that they've got where they are is not that they've found this framework that now means that you can speak very quickly in a confident way. It's that they've gone through this period of being really bad and messy. Bad in inverted commas, like just not as good as they could be. But there are no, it's not that there are no shortcuts, but like you need to know the techniques and things, and then you also need to put in this work of being really bad, which is what I learned as a clown. You turn up, you do stuff, you're like, this is going to be funny. It isn't. The audience doesn't laugh. You're like, this feels terrible. They laugh because you recognize it doesn't feel is terrible. And there's this continual process of just failing, scrappy. Things are bad. And as it goes along, you start to learn what works. But you can't shortcut that process when you're dealing with, your own personality and how you show up in the world. It's a process of being messy. And that this is one of those things that gains that confidence to move us away from this imposter syndrome, is that we are actually, each time we're succeeding and each time we're failing, we're giving ourselves a little bit of like evidence that this is like possible. I can do this, or I can't. Every time we're showing up, we're teaching ourselves who we can be, which is one I think probably one of the solutions to imposter syndrome is to recognize how scared we are of being crap. Because every time I'm putting together like a workshop or something for a new group of people for voice, I was doing one today, and then I just was like, okay, I'm dealing with this voice that's just like, yes, but what if it's terrible, and what if they don't like it, and what if they don't come, and what if they don't come back, and what if they don't understand? And I've got all these little voices there, and I can't just go, oh, I'm just going to ignore those. Actually, like bringing them in and going, okay, I feel this, I feel scared and things, because I want to make the best teaching experience for people. That's part of who I am as well, these voices of imposter syndrome. So bringing them into the party and going, hey, it's all right, let's work through this together. That's part of the process. So what is the answer to imposter syndrome? I would say, it depends, but like getting evidence is good. Getting evidence you can do it, getting evidence you can fail and you don't die, getting evidence that you're better than you think you are, but also that you're also not yet as good as you think you are, and just sort of accepting all of that into yourself. And I would say that like one thing I've struggled with, and I think a lot of people do, is actually when people do give you good feedback about what you do. I've got loads of great feedback from people about me teaching, helping them with her voice over the years. And part of my brain hears that and goes, no, I don't want my ego to get too big, which is fair. Some people have really big egos. But like no. And so I just discard the good things really quickly and only focus on the bad things, which is a very common human experience. And So learning to take on that good feedback whilst also holding ourselves to a higher standard when we know we can do better. This is the balancing act of imposter syndrome. It's not just a case, I don't think, of going, okay, well, I'll just pretend I'm not an imposter and then switch it off. Because what are we doing there? We're just pretending, and therefore part of us knows that we still feel like an imposter. That was a blooming scrappy video, and I feel a bit, yeah, I felt like one of the most scrappy in the last few days, but that's okay. There you go. Have a good time for the rest of whatever you're doing on this particular day that you're watching this. If you like voice or anything, you can subscribe to this channel, hit the bell icon, follow me on social media. There's a waitlist for a voice lab program that I'm putting together for the next year. That's all I'm going to say. You are an imposter. We're all imposters. Let's just embrace that.